Nō reira tēnā tātou te whānau, a whānau katoa, ko tai mai nei, ki roto e tēnei o tātou nei whare. E mohi ona ko te whare whakapai ana tō tinana tō ngākau, the gymnasium. Ko tēnei whare he te whare mō ngā tamariki e pirangi ana ki te mahi ngā mahi tākoro. Nō reira a tēnā hoki tātou. Kei kone te ngā tangata i mui ao nei. Māku e pātai o ngā kōrero ki a rātou. Ma rātou e whakahoki. Ngā kōrero o rātou mai e whakatipu mai nei i te kāinga nei. Nō reira, me tīmata au ki tēnā taha. Tīmata, Rog, mahau e tīmata.
My memories of this school, I came here in 1960. I left in 1964. We had many teachers those days that came from overseas that taught in these schools.
Kia kā, Roger, te pupuri tō Mike, tō waha, kia runga
Okay.
ki rātou.
Go back to these teachers that came from overseas. They had to do at that time, a rural service of 1 year, and a lot of them came here.
That's, what nationality were they, Roger? Can you remember, what nationality were some of those teachers? I know we had a number of different nationalities who came through the school. Can you remember?
I remember the looks.
The looks, yeah.
They were
And-
Americans.
What nationality were they?
They taught us maths and science, but I think we were too clever for them at that time. We didn't listen to them.
Right.
Eddie Salters was Canadian. He taught social studies. Who else? Eddie Gormley was the English teacher. Oh, Bob McConnell was here. He came from down south. He was our Māori teacher, actually,
Kia ora.
at that time. Oh, I can't feel. Ken Johnson and his wife. He was a headmaster. That's about all I can think of at the moment.
Oh, ka pai, ka pai. Well, you might want to pass the mic over to we. We might want to add something to that.
Yeah.
Got anything you would like to add to, well, first of all,
Kia ora tātou, ko wiwa no tako ingoa, no whakaangangi. Ko huri tērā reo. I went here to school 61 and 62. I enjoyed the time here, and like Roger mentioned, the teachers here with Buddha, Mark, Leonard, a few others at the time. I was lucky enough in my second year, I applied as a regular force cadet in the army, and I was the only successful one out of 4 of us on Ngāti Parau that got in out of all the secondary schools. So it was a bit of a bonus for me to go in and complete my schools there in the army my first year at age 16 years old. So in now I'm thankful, grateful for the opportunity I got from here and from whakaangangi. So with that, I still return to these functions like this, and particularly here at the 100-year celebrations. That was 50 years ago.
which teacher here stood out for you as you remember? Who do you think was a teacher that you
Oh,
learned a lot
the
from?
teachers were Well, we had Rimmer, Tony Rimmer, I think it was our manual training teacher. The principal was Johnson, and his wife was also a teacher here. Paul McConnell, of course, and many other relieving teachers that came aboard. So, and we did have a good realm of teaching. Willie Carr was here with us as well, and they were a great time. They gave me that opportunity, and like I say, I was one of the lucky ones to get selected to complete my schooling in the Army and go on to an Army career.
How long did you spend in the Army again, William?
I enlisted at 16 years old,
Right.
so and graduated at age 18 into the regular Army with my school seat and pending further qualifications in motor engineering and stuff like that. So I completed my 5 years and met a lovely woman that took me away from going to Vietnam. So I'm grateful I didn't go to Vietnam. I returned to work at the Auckland Airport as an aircraft engineer, then went on to own my own fleet of school buses and charter buses. Anyhow, that came to an end 20 years later, and I've been home here ever since the year 2008. I'm grateful as well to be still caring for the Whakaangangi School, which is where I live now.
So you've done a complete circle. You've
Yes.
been away, you've made your life, and you've come back again. Ka pai tēnā.
Yes.
I'd now like to pass it over to Ratu beside you there.
Nā reira, kia ora tātou katoa.
Ratu will just give us.
Kia ora tātou katoa. My name is Ratu Tuho Tibble. I guess that for me the significance is that I'm named after my tipuna Ratu Tuho, who married Te Riringi Curtis, and they had 21 children. Now, Te Riringi Curtis left my tipuna Ratu Tuho and married Apirana Ngata. Apirana had 15 children, so if you all add that up, I think that comes to 35 children. And if you're thinking about your performance in this life, you can consider it very poor. So it's time for you all to go back to bed. And some of you are a little bit too late. So that brings me with a very strong background. But I think perhaps my strongest background is and of grounding is here at Rereko, because I believe I belong to the most significant of groups that ever passed through this school in rugby. The Karaka brothers were exceptional players, not just the Karakas in town here, also the ones in Whakaangangi. And powerful rugby players. There was my cousin Bo Kururangi and a host of other great players. You've got Robert Kururangi out of here in rugby. And then, of course, the most significant of the games ever played in this, and the East Coast Ngāti Pro was certainly a great game. But it doesn't account for the greatest game of all, and it was Poverty Bay versus England. And we lost the game by about 6 points, as I recall. But in that game, you had the Karaka boys, you had, I think Hope was there, I'm not too sure, but the year might have been 52 or something, 51. You're all too old, too young to remember. That's okay, we'll forgive you. For those who are rugby players, you'll know what I'm talking about, and all the Hianare brothers, great rugby players. And there's never been any greater, if you reflect it against Britain's visit to New Zealand at the time. And to have them fight really powerfully to try to overcome the team, Poverty Bay East Coast, in those years.
Ratu, do you, anything significant in your life when you went to the Rereko school?
Yeah.
Can you remember anything that you like to highlight to us today in terms of your experiences at this school?
Oh, this experience at my school, I suppose about the most greatest experience I could ever remember was commercial studies. Yeah, it was one of the, I can't remember much else besides commercial studies. And it grounded me in how to spend my money. And over the years, I've learned how to lose spending all my money.
Okay.
I've taken a chance on everything I've ever done in this life. Spent money on the stock market, played the horses in New Zealand, and finally come to a decision at the end of almost the end of my life, that it wasn't a great exercise at all. I've got yet much more to learn, but I anticipate that I have a business partner, and we're in digital media, playing digital media, and we think that we will get $3 million this year, borrowed from somewhere. And within 5 years, we should come out with about $5 million.
Ka pai. Well, with that, we'll just pause there for a moment as we give our sponsors a bit of hearing. We'd like to thank the Department of Internal Affairs, Toitu Ngāti Pro, Te Punei Kōkiri, Te Runanganui o Ngāti Pro, and Ngāti Growth. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to tell you that this broadcast will be shown around the world, so we must look after our sponsors. And before you pass it over to Mark, I'll just ask your brother hiding behind the bushes there to just grab the mic from you. Wiwi, kei a koe naine.
Kia ora rā, Sid and Awe. Ai kai te kia ora no tātou. My name is Oromo Kurureng Tibble. The only time I've ever got promoted or given some accolades were actually coming from Whakatane, Whakatane, damn it.
Whakaangiangi.
Whakaangiangi to Te Aro Rereko School. And the teachers at the time, we were really quite skilled. Rerekohu in terms of what I could understand that led me in my pathway all came from this very, very school.
Kia ora.
I know you once joined me up in Te Puke to look at horticulture and so forth.
Right.
But he went chasing rabbits, but never mind, there must have been something in rabbits than there was in Kiwifruit. No reira, to the school and all friends and families, in particular families. I always believed that the Kopumu Valley and Owatere Whakangi were the valley of the kings and queens of
Kia ora.
Rereko. Ai
Kia ora.
tēnā tātou.
Kia ora rā, kia ora rā, we. Thank you, and you pass the mic on to your brother, Marka. Marka and I were in the same class at school, and and this, of course, a lot of you will know that Mark gradually lost his sight. He started losing his sight when we were at school. But I'll have you know that he played good rugby. He played in the second 15. I always tell him, well, I made the first 15, you made the second 15. But of course, he was his sight was ailing. But one of the moments that I remember about Mark is when he played Te Kaha, I think it was, and he scored a try on the outside line. But he had an excuse. He had an excuse. So I'd like to pass it on to Mark. Kia ora, Mark.
Kia ora rā, Sid.
Hold it up to your mouth a bit closer.
I'm named after a Kraua who lived in Hicks Bay, and his name was Maka Tauranga. And I was born in Waipiro Bay and lived up to Kopupunamu Valley. What I liked about this school, well, there was a lot to like about it, but there were this particular instance was quite good, I think, because when Eddie Gormley turned up here, there was no rugby coach for the school. And so he just let us run wild. And and I got put in the first 15. Because the captain was my cousin, Graham Seymour. Yeah. So, they put me in the middle of the scrum, me and Rodney Brooking. And Rodney was given he had to look after me. So I had to follow him from line out to line out and from scrum to scrum. And one time, and he was to say, jump marker. And I jumped. And I said, hey, there's no ball coming, man. And he says, yes, I know, but it was a tricky move. You jump, and we got the ball. But when we played whānau Apanui College, it was the last game of our year, and we had won all the games. We'd beaten Ngata College, we'd beaten Tokomaru Bay, and so on. And we'd worked out a move. Get close to the line, and Dennis Goldsmith, who was pretty good footballer, he was to hand the ball to me to dot down. And it was getting near to the end, and he started to panic. And he threw the ball at me, and I missed it. So yeah. So it was a good. But yeah. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was at the age 10, my mum took me up to Auckland to the Blind Foundation because my eyes were failing. And I was to have, well, I didn't know at the time, but I was to have stayed there and she was to come home. But I didn't know this until I met the director and the principal of the Homai College, of the Foundation for the Blind School, who said after we'd had our interview and looked around the school, we went back to see the director and the principal, and they said, Mrs. Tibble, we have a place here in the blind school for your son. And I said, Mum, I didn't come here for that. I come here to have a look around. And so, fortunately, there was a principal there by the name of Mr. Sutherland. And he says, look, I think this boy is doing well in his school in Te Araro, and our challenge, like the challenge to the foundation, was to see how they can try to meet my needs. And of course, I never saw them until 4 years later, 5 years, yeah, when I left Rerekohu to go to Auckland.
Mark, so they must have taught you some naughty things up there.
In Auckland?
Yeah, because I recall you being the ringleader when we used to go for a smoke under the school. I know when we used to go under the homecraft room there, we used to go in from the seaward side, which is the highest part. Crawl through, open the trap door and crawl through we'd go. And I recall you being late one time. And so by this time we were all down to the eastern side, and we were all huddled up in the corner having a smoke. Then you said, "Hoi, kei koto." We said, "Over here." So you crawled over to us, and then the time we shifted and we went across to the west side. When you got there, you said, "Who's got the smokes?" We said, "Over here." So you had to crawl back. Eventually,
I don't remember that. I don't recall it at all.
Eventually, when we got out, and you came, we took off to assembly, and you came running afterwards, covered in cobwebs and that. And you, Mr. McConnell, asked you why you had all those cobwebs all over you. What was your reply that day? I remember. You said, a ball roll under the school? You went to get the ball.
Yeah, well, but there were some mischievous fellas there in those days, like Sid Clark. Yeah, who we followed. But yeah, but I just to finish off, we had the Army cadets at the school in those days, and we were given Army kit, and we went on a field craft exercise, and we had to get to a point without being spotted. And I just put my my front forward first, and I got caught. So, yeah. So I don't know where Sid was. That I thought he might be going to be helping me, but yeah. So.
Ka pai then, Mark.
And one of the things, one of the memories that I have too, is that I fired a gun at the firing range, and yeah, and my target didn't have anything on it, and the next one had another extra one. And Cronus, who was the fellow who came to our school, kicked me in the heel and said, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" But so yeah, so that was Somerdale.
Kia ora. Kia ora, Mark, for that one. Kia ora. And you know, you whakaangangi fellas are getting a lot of publicity, for goodness sake. Kia ora, Leonard.
Kia ora whānau, Leonard Walker taku ingoa. Yeah, in those younger days, all these gentlemen along here, they were our neighbours up Kopapunamu Valley, and we used to live across the Rua, and we had to catch a horse, or milk a cow first, catch a horse to catch the school bus, which Roger's dad was driving then, and that was about 7:45 every morning. And we never missed the bus at all, or else we would have got a kick up the arse. So that's where our grounding first started from. Went to Whakaangangi for a few years, and then from there I came to Rerekohu. That was about 57 or something around there. And I was only here for 2 years, and then I was moved on. I was one of those kids that the parents moved around quite a bit, I suppose so they could feed the other ones better. But I was moved around quite a bit, and Mr. Rimmer was the teacher I can remember those days. Mr. Hiwi Tengaire was another one. And so I wasn't really at Rerekohu very long. And I can't remember too much, just mainly playing a lot of rugby out the fields there, eating our lunch, swapping lunches, and never learned too much. Everything out in the playgrounds were too good. So from Rerekohu, I went to Pōtaka for a little while, and then from Pōtaka I went to East Cape, and to East Cape I got my scholarship, and from there I went to Whakatane High. So there was quite a few of us parents wanting us to get a better education to get further ahead. So my time here was very short, but what I can remember is just playing a lot out in the grounds. Mr. Ruma and Mr. Tangaire about the teachers, I can recall.
Kia ora. Kia ora, kia ora, kia ora, gentlemen. Thank you for that short kōrero. Put your hands together for these fellows here as we stop singing.